Growing up, I had dreams and aspirations, but always felt like the kid that didn't fit in. For the most part, I wasn't a bad kid, but when I made the transition into adulthood, I turned to the streets for guidance. This led to getting locked up in juvenile hall, doing time in CYA, and eventually a 120-month sentence in federal prison. I had a lot of time to think and reflect during my federal sentence, so I share with you what I learned, hoping I can positively influence someone else's life with Prison Talk.
Hi, Big Herc. I'm a college professor and a huge fan of the show. I love how you keep it real and don't sugarcoat the waking nightmare that prison apparently is. Ever since I started watching it, I've been motivated to start supporting programs like the ACLU Prison Project that try to reform the prison system. I have two questions. First, a lot of your descriptions of prison make it sound absolutely dehumanizing. The most recent video I watched was the January 10th video, which ended with a story of prison administration throwing hog-tied inmates into a truck like merchandise. I know that people should be punished for committing crimes, but why can't we have a prison system that treats people like human beings? Yes, we can't let them off the hook, but aren't there ways to run a system without treating inmates like animals? Second question, do you ever feel like prison movies or cultural depictions of prison glorify the prison lifestyle? Looking through YouTube comments sometimes, I see a lot of people talking about prison almost like it's a kind of wild but almost fun gladiator school. Do you ever get that impression? And if so, what do you think about it? Thanks for taking the time. So I guess you just, start with the first part, which is the human beings being treated like animal.
Yeah, as far as being treated like an animal, prison, jail is the most dehumanizing experience you could ever have. And they like it like that. You go to L.A. County, Sac County, San Bernardino County, and you look up wrong or you smirk or you do something, you will get your motherfucking wig split. They do not play in there. And you're not treated as an equal. You're treated there like you've, done the most, grotesque thing that could ever be imagined without them having to know about it. And you get no respect. They don't. It's and they like it like that because then there's no unity. Everybody's in fear, in survival mode, and there's no rehabilitation. There's no Americans. The American prison system, jail system is not based on rehabilitation. It's based on creating a barbaric individual. You're put into an environment, unless you go to a damn prison camp, you're put into an environment, if you go to county jails where it's all about survival. I've seen where guards have, there was the instance where at one of the institutions I was at, there was a rumor somebody had they had somehow got a gun on the yard, which was some bullshit. But anyways, they locked down the compound. They put on ski masks, goon uniforms, full SWAT gear, 9mm. They had semi-automatic rifles. They went to each unit by unit, woke us up in the middle of the night, made us come out in just our boxers, handcuffed us, basically like a chain gang, and tore the cells up. I mean, just tore your cell up. Just tore it up. Just tore it up, stuff everywhere. So, and they did that purposely. And these guys is, while you're sitting there, don't look at me, keep your head down. And it was just basically a show of authority. And the next day, they made everybody go to chow. Just made them go to chow. People don't even want to go to chow. You get up, go to chow. Clear out the unit. And they had, COs on the roofs with guns pointed at us. COs walking next to us with guns pointed at us. And if you looked sideways, you're getting tossed to the ground and taken to the hole. So that was uncalled for. Uncalled for, man. And there's other institutions. I was at Lompoc. They called them the Cowboys. They'd roll up in there, hog-tie your ass, literally hog-tie you, and like a skewer, and have like a stick or rod type thing, and have you hanging from that while they carry you down to the hole, butt naked. You know what I mean? You'll be butt naked, dingling, dangling, everything, man. These guys, that was part of the game. They said, watch out because you don't want to get the Cowboys called on you. And so each institution has their own way of dealing with stuff, but it is very dehumanizing. There's nothing, if it's like, say, it's a situation where it's that child, maybe the warden try to talk to you like, he really cares. These guys do not give a damn about you up in there. If you get written up, it's a lost cause unless you really know how to fight it. And, people who come in there and work, they're there for a job. You can't cry to them. They don't care because they go home every day. And so, it's very dehumanizing, and it's nothing like, from what I understand, the Scandinavian prison system where they don't push racism, they don't push the separation, they don't basically endorse the gangs, which they do in every California prison. They love that. Mexicans separate from the blacks separate from the whites. If you got guys who are who promote hatred. Let them get on the yard and kind of, get things situated. And that's how they run the prisons. The wardens love it. The guards love it over time. And, that's why they have, so much violence in our prisons is because of that, the dehumanizing.
Now, do you think that if money wasn't the main motivator behind these prison systems, that something similar or the exact same copy of a Scandinavian prison system would actually work here? Or do you think that it's just too much racial divide amongst the people that even that type of system wouldn't even really be able to work?
I think that the Scandinavian paradigm, the model that they have for their prison system, could work here if it wasn't a for-profit type of prison system, endorsed by Wackenhut, CCA, these different types of private corporations who make money by certain government officials by having prisons there, like in Florida. The governor, they can set aside certain land for these prisons, which creates a revenue stream in these communities where there is no revenue. So all these hicks and hillbillies, go to work at these prisons, and they can control all these minorities and other individuals, and there's no sense of any type of rehabilitation. If they implemented a more of a social school type environment, because I've seen it. When I was in prison, I had a group of guys, Hispanic, Caucasian, Belizean, Asian, Black. We all studied together and we had no problems. All studied together. Everybody, didn't necessarily sit together in a chow hall, but we'd meet at the law library. We would share ideas. We would pass, positive energy back and forth, share reading material. It was harmony. No issues. We all got along. Outside of our circle, there might be political things going on the yard, but among our group, we had none of that. So it can work if these people really want to do that. If they were to put the time and money into, say, endorsing and pushing more education. Hey, you get an education, you get this, you can get early release, you can get a job. These guys would be busting ass to do this because they bust ass in there in the factories making jeans for these stores on the street, for these companies on the street, and assembling electronics and all this stuff. They bust ass doing that. So they would bust ass to actually do right if they were given the choice. But they're not given a choice because people on the street say they should be punished. And, I understand that. Some people are pieces of shit. Yeah, they need to, get people want to feel like they got some type of retribution. But at the same time, if you want people who are going to get out to be more productive, give them the tools they need to be productive. And if they did that, these guys wouldn't have the racism, because you got a white guy studying with a black guy, or a Hispanic guy, teaching Spanish to other guys, and it would be more of a positive environment. But number two is these guys getting out now, they get jobs, they have opportunities, and then people on the street are mad because these guys went to prison and came out, now they're doing good. Well, you were on the streets. You should be doing good. Why are you mad at the next man? Because he took the time to do something better for himself. And that's a lot of the stuff I hear on a lot of our feed comments and stuff, because people are jealous because guys that were in prison have gotten out and actually done something. They don't like that. They like it when the guys are going back because it shows that the system's working. No, it shows that the system is broken when guys keep coming back, because they're basically, they've given up on life because they just figure, hell, I might as well just keep, and there I have something. if they were taught those skills and they got out, they wouldn't be going back because they would have something to grasp to on the streets. So that's it's kind of a crazy situation.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you. I never really understood why we really just don't place any emphasis on, or even ask the question, how do we make it so that these dudes don't come back? You hear all the time about how people bitch about, oh, my tax dollars go to supporting these fucking felons and blah, 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 blah. We should just shoot them all and then be done with it. But it's like, you're asking the wrong questions in a way, like you got to ask, okay, this dude, he's going in. Why does he keep going back in?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where's that question being asked? It's not being asked because people, they just don't have the brain capacity to ask the right questions. Instead, they just want to bitch. But if you really want to fix the prison system and stop having people go back to prison and to stop having to put your tax dollars into prisons to hold dudes, set up the prisons so that way when the dudes get out, they don't have to work. They're going back to work. They're not having to worry about, oh, I'm a felon, so I can't write that. I can't fill out applications because as soon as I fill out applications say I'm a felon, that's pretty much going in the trash. But apparently, I think in California they changed that, right? So they can't ask you if you're a felon anymore.
Yeah, and the point you made too, as far as people say tax dollars, people who say that, right? They're like, oh, my tax dollar. Okay, if you really give a damn about your tax dollar, it costs roughly $76,000 to house one individual in California state prisons. Now, how much does it cost for 1 year of tuition at USC? $30,000-$40,000. So you take double that for a guy in prison. Now, why wouldn't you take that and put educators into these prisons, and eventually you can kind of get rid of a lot of prisons because it would be small, it would shrink. Now, the individuals who are basically garbage, who don't want to rehabilitate, who are just mentally just retarded, that don't have the ability to change, you would have all these individuals housed in the same area. But all these other individuals who are passing through, who maybe this guy got a DUI, or maybe this guy, he got a couple times, driving without a license and he got caught with some weed. These guys wouldn't be pushed into the gangs or to having to claim, AB because he has to, ride because it's racial, or this guy has to, claim his hood or his race because of just politics. No, these guys would be getting schooled and actually come out better individuals because they could actually do something positive with their time. So when people talk about tax dollars and, they bitch about crime, you don't really give a damn because you're spending twice the amount of money it costs to go to a top-notch university in this country on housing these guys in prison. You can shrink the prisons down, make it a school structure. These guys that get out and actually come out better individuals.
That's definitely something they should be doing. Let's get to the second part of that, which was, do you ever feel like prison movies are cultural depictions of prison, glorify prison lifestyle? Looking through YouTube comments sometimes, I see a lot of people talking about prison almost like it's kind of wild but almost fun gladiator school. Do you ever get that impression? And if so, what do you think about it?
I definitely do, man. I think that, a lot of these movies, one of our foreign fans was asking, like, why do they glorify homosexuality? Why do they glorify that? And why do they, push all, they always show the races don't like each other. Well, they do that because it's part of their program. A lot of guys say they go to prison, they're not racist. I've talked to many white guys, Mexican guys, Hispanic, Latino, for those who always call me on nationality and race. But they go in, they're not racist. They leave, they're forced to be racist because of just how the system is, the direction the system is pushed. And as far as, so when you look at how Hollywood depicts it, it always shows the gang stuff. It always, and so these kids watching that, if they go to prison, they got to fall in line with a certain clique or a certain neighborhood or a certain race. And, there's always somebody that gets raped. I've never seen a prison movie without rape. Tell me about one without rape. Shawshank Redemption, American Me. All these movies, always somebody getting their butt took.
Shot collar.
Everybody gets raped. You know what I mean? So, what is that? Hollywood loves that shit. Why would you endorse that? You endorse it, and then you feed into some of these guys who are straight barbarians, and they prey on guys who are weaker because maybe this guy's a nerd. He got caught doing credit card fraud, and he got caught too many times. Now he has to go to prison, and they just blow his cheeks out, and everybody thinks that's a great thing. Guards in there where they all know what a lot of this stuff takes place. Why don't they stop? Why do they let that guy continue to do that? He's a predator. This guy, you think that stuff is cool? So, yeah, they do endorse it, and it's sad, and that's what, that's what they consider entertainment over here. It's actually a warped form of entertainment to think that another man is going to take a straight man's cheeks in prison, and basically he comes out now and he's not normal. That's what is positive about that?
There's not much positive about that, especially when dudes go in there, they just want to do their time. They made a mistake.
That's right.
And then they end up either getting more time, putting in work.
Defending themselves.
They get stabbed up.
Yep.
They spend time in the hole.
Yep.
They basically transform into a whole completely different being, like how this person said, gladiator school. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what other choice do you have?
Yeah.
You either do that or you become a punk.
Survival.
Or go hide in fucking PC. And what kind of life is that?
If you got a guy, and I've heard, you've seen it even, remember Stir Crazy, Richard Pryor and I forgot the other actor, but when they were in the prison and the warden wanted to break him and he put him in a cell with that big dude and the dude pressed up against Richard Pryor and they were sitting there and they're like hoping that he was going to bust their cheeks, and then at the end they were all singing together and they're like, what the hell? But see, that's typical Hollywood, man. They want to see. They always say Big Bubba, Yeah. He's got a whatever, and he's gonna bust some cheeks. He's a known cheek. But who praises that? Why would you praise an individual like that, man? It's pretty sick, man, when you think about it.
It's sick. Do you think they do that to try to scare people though, or do you think they really just have a thing about it, like they're like a fetish?
I think it's a fetish, man, because I think in this it's just a fascination, whether it's some deep dark fantasy for these guys, and it we can go through and look at some history shit as far as these guys watching somebody forcibly rape another person, so-called breaking them. They used to do it to slaves. They would rape the slaves, the biggest black male. They would rape them in front of the other slaves and show a sign of dominance. And then now in prison, that's what it became. Was a sign of dominance. So this thing it's nothing new. It's things that they used to do to break the spirit of individuals from back in the day. So prison, they just kind of kept pushing that, which became another form of just domination, control, and just like basically showing people who's in charge. Because why else would they put that in a movie? And as far as saying it's a deterrent, deterrent. If you're doing crime, the last thing you're thinking about is going to jail and getting your cheeks busted. But if you throw that in there, it's like, well, man, shit. If anybody would try to bust my cheeks, I'm gonna kill them. Straight up. You're not gonna do it. I'm gonna kill you. You know what I mean? So why would you? Now I'm looking at defending myself, and you're gonna charge me with murder. But this guy, he's a rapist, and he tried to. It doesn't even compute. So. For them to even say, oh, you don't want to go to jail, get raped. I'm like, damn, I don't want to go to jail because I don't want to go to jail.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need to stay in school. I don't want to go to, it's not about going to jail and worrying about Big Bubba.
Right. This person also, they going back to what they were saying, it's almost like a kind of wild but almost fun gladiator school. Now, do you think dudes like being in prison? Like they get off on just the whole environment of prison, they feel at home there. They like putting in work. They like, they just like calling the shots. They like just that whole environment.
It's funny you brought that up, man, because there's some guys in there. They thrive in there. They don't have shit on it. These guys live like, they buff their cell floors. They polish the toilets. They iron their clothes. I'm like, damn, what the hell? These dudes, they act like this is their house, like they living in a high-rise on Wilshire Boulevard, man. I can't believe it. They put wax on the floor, it's shiny. And it's like they think they're really doing it in there. You're not doing shit in prison. You're doing time, man. You're in there, you're getting your head busted, man, because you ain't got no rights. And for you to take pride in that garbage that they have you in, you're a dummy. You're a dummy. And like you said, a lot of these dudes, they love it. I've seen when these homies hit the yard, oh man, we're deep, we're the shit. Yeah, they run around. I'm like, you're a buster. You're a buster, bro. You waiting for all your homeboys, 100-something homeboys to go do something? You ain't about shit. You ain't got no hands. You're a coward. And it takes 100 of you to do anything. And those guys, they love that shit. And they're the ones who basically get in there and, get into the drugs, because they want all that stuff. They want to control that. That's their power. They don't even think about going home. If they did, they'd be in school. They don't think about it. They're on the yard. Like you said, they're playing games, playing sports. These dudes, some dudes, it's just like, I used to look at it, man, and that would be the most disturbing thing to me. How a human being could be so jubilee in prison, so happy, so excited that they're there with this is their friends. And I'm like, I never understood that, man. I was always like, man, I'm passing through. This is not my home, man. I stayed in a law library. If there was any law, any secret Masonic way of getting out of prison, I was going to try to figure it out, man. But these guys, most of them never been to the law library, never looked up their case, didn't even know what the charges were, the statutes that they were charged with meant. They never even investigated. That's how dumb a lot of these dummies are in prison. Straight dummies, man.
And you think they like being in that environment also because it's, I don't like to say easy, but it kind of is easier,
it
right?
Is easy.
Because you have everything
no
there
rent.
for you. No
You don't have to worry about a car.
You got food.
Job is walking distance. You know what I'm saying? You got 3 meals. You got a bed. You got hygiene. You got a laundry. You can wash your clothes. You can go to commissary, little store, walk over there. You can use microwave or hot water. You got the homies. You can watch movies on weekends. What else do you shit, man? These guys are in paradise. On the street, they wasn't really employed. They weren't taking care of their kids. They had a female, but they were probably too busy getting high to really pay her any attention. She was working all day while they were, jacking off. You know what I mean? Whatever they were doing. So in jail, it's just a natural thing. And when they do see their females, it's a quick little visit, but there's no commitment because they don't have to really give her any emotional, support. It's just basically, hey, babe, kiss you at the visiting, kiss you at the end, and that's it. These guys have no responsibilities in prison. And to have responsibility, that takes a real man. That takes somebody who's willing to stand up and do something. And a lot of these guys, they don't want no responsibility.
Lockdown's over. Get your yard time in. Exclusively at FreshOutSeries.com.